Welcome back to World of Immersion. So this past summer we had the amazing privilege of visiting Japan, and during this trip we were able to visit a few theme parks, one of which being Tokyo Disneyland. In today's video we're going to be ranking the top 10 rides at Tokyo Disneyland. Make sure to check out all of our other rankings from this trip because you can see the other parks we visited like Tokyo Disney Sea and Universal Studios Japan. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Now taking the number 10 spot, we have Monsters, Inc. Now this ride is pretty similar to the one we have at California Adventure. However, one small difference is you have flashlights that you get to shine at some of the animatronics in the ride, which definitely makes it a step above the one we have in California. It's a ton of fun, and it's a really good addition to the lineup of rides that they have. The animatronics are fun, the Monsters, Inc. theming is always great, and it's overall just a really fun ride to have in the park. Definitely is a filler ride, not one of the main standout attractions, but a good thing to do if you've already done some of the big ones and are looking for something to do that might not have a huge line. Now taking the number 9 spot, we have Jungle Cruise. Now this ride is very similar to the one we have in California, with only the slight difference obviously being that it's in Japanese. However, this ride is always a ton of fun. The animatronics are great, the scenery is always fun, and it's always just a nice family ride to enjoy. The skipper aspect is also a ton of fun to have on a ride. You really don't see that on many rides. Now taking the number 8 spot, we have Peter Pan. Now this one is a clone of the one we have at Disneyland. However, it is still just an incredibly fun ride. It's one of the best dark rides out there, definitely in the Fantasyland. It's one of our favorites. It's definitely got that nice classic feel. It's a very old ride, and it's very impressive for how old it is. The suspended aspect is a ton of fun. It really feels like you're flying through the city. And overall, it's just a fun story. Peter Pan is a really fun sort of theme to have for a ride, and it's just a great addition to the park. Another one of those good filler rides to do once that you have done all of the main sort of big standout attractions. Speaking of big main standout attractions, taking the number 7 spot, we have Big Thunder Mountain. Now this one is slightly different from the one we have at Disneyland, however it's pretty much the same, and it's just a great ride. I mean, these coasters are very smooth, they're not crazy intense, but they still have some good forces, and just the theming really is what sets them apart. It's so much fun. I mean, the Thunder Mountain theming is definitely one of our favorites. The sort of rustic western feel is really cool, and Tokyo Disneyland does a really good job at this. Like I said, it's very similar to the one we have in California, but that one we have in California is such a good ride, so it is a really good addition to the park. And Tokyo Disneyland really has a good, strong lineup of clones. The selection that they have based on the other parks around the world is pretty good. And taking the number 6 spot, speaking of clones, we have the Haunted Mansion. Now again, this is very similar to the one we have in California, except obviously in Japanese, but it is a ton of fun. I mean, this ride is just great. It has some of the coolest effects, the coolest scenes that you can get on any dark ride in the world. It's got a great atmosphere to it, just like the one in California. And it definitely seems to be a hit at Tokyo Disneyland because this ride had a very long line when we were there, so we weren't actually able to do it, but we can still rank it based on us having ridden the one here in California. But overall, just a really fun ride, and a really good addition for Tokyo Disneyland to have to their lineup. Now, if we reach the halfway point, taking the number 5 spot, we have Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, just like a lot of the other clones on this list, this ride is pretty much a clone of the one we have in California. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe it is a clone, and that ride is just great. I mean, this is 15 minutes of just pure enjoyment and a great atmosphere. The theming is just incredible on this ride. The animatronics are really fun and they're really cool, and definitely it's just such a fun, long ride that you can sort of sit back, relax, and enjoy the atmosphere. It's something that Disney definitely does really well in general, and this ride is no exception to that. And it's overall just a great ride to have in the park. We really enjoyed riding it. We were able to get on this one. But taking the number 4 spot, we have a original to Tokyo Disneyland, and this is Winnie the Pooh Honey Hunt. Now, this is a trackless dark ride, and if you know anything about that, they are always tons of fun. I mean, this ride just has some incredible theming. The trackless element makes it that much better. You're sort of weaving in and out of the other carts. There's one room in particular, I won't spoil it, that is just so much fun, and you're spinning around and going back and forth, and you kind of get disoriented. It's a really fun ride. They did the Winnie the Pooh theme really well. I think it's the best out of all of the Winnie Pooh rides in the world, and it's definitely a really strong ride to have at the park. It's interesting taking a ride like Winnie the Pooh that is sort of a lower tier, sort of less popular ride at the other Disney parks, and making it sort of one of the main attractions at this park. It's definitely an interesting twist that is added to Tokyo Disneyland that the other parks don't have, and it definitely does it well because this ride is just so much fun. Now, taking the number 3 spot, we have the incredible Space Mountain. Now, this ride is just great. I mean, Space Mountain is a ton of fun. It is definitely one of our favorite roller coasters just out there. Everything about it is great. I mean, the layout is strong. This one is a clone of the one that we have at Disneyland, and that clone is definitely the better of the two. It is just great. It is a ton of fun. It's very smooth. It's got a good soundtrack, good layout, and of course, the space theme is incredible. There's really not much we can say about this ride that we haven't already said because of the clone, but it's just a really good addition to have at this park. I mean, it's definitely one of the main attractions at the park, and it's just loads of fun. You really can't go wrong with this ride. It's definitely a must-do when you visit this park, as it is at Disneyland. And it's overall just a really good ride to have. Now, taking the number 2 spot, just outbeating Space Mountain, we have another very important mountain to Tokyo Disneyland, and that is Splash Mountain. Now, this ride is not a clone of the one at Disneyland, and it's also not a clone of the one of Disney World. It is slightly different from both, and we think that it is just great. It is definitely our favorite of the three. Maybe coming close to the one at Magic Kingdom, still up for debate which one is better, but we just absolutely love this ride. It had more drops than the one at Disneyland, which was always a ton of fun. We love the carts much better because they're 2-seated instead of 1-seated, and it's overall just a great ride. It's got some awesome theming, some awesome classic tunes that you know from the Splash Mountain soundtrack, and it's just overall such a good and fun ride that you get to enjoy. The ride also is just super duper long, and so much happens, which definitely makes the wait feel worth it. Same thing with Pirates, but with this ride especially, with all the drops and everything that's included in it, it definitely makes the wait worth it. And overall, again, just a really good ride to have at this park. It's definitely one of the main standout attractions that this park has. And again, what this park does really well is it takes some of the best rides from all of the Disney parks around the world and it puts it in one place while also adding some additional good ones that are original to the park, like our number 1 on this list. Coming in at number 1, we have Beauty and the Beast. This is also, just like Pooh's Honey Hunt, a trackless dark ride, which is awesome. Now, this ride is just out of this world incredible. What it does really well is it puts you in a scene and it really sets the atmosphere of that scene, and it has some great theming that goes around in that scene. I mean, the intro to the ride when you are going into that first scene is just great. We will not spoil it for you, but it is an awesome scene that you definitely should try to experience if you go to Tokyo Disneyland. And following that, it just has some great other sort of immersive elements that make you feel like you are part of the ride. It has some really cool special effects, which we don't know how they do. There's one special effect in general, which again, we're not going to spoil, but it has to do with the Beast. And you probably know what we're talking about if you've in the ride, and we have no clue how they do it. Let us know down in the comments if you know, because we're genuinely curious. But it is just such a fun ride with great theming and really good ride system. We did wait an obscenely long time for this ride, almost 3 hours, because it kept breaking down. But the ride definitely made that wait worth it because it was just so much fun, and we really, really enjoyed it. But that is going to do it for our top 10 rides at Tokyo Disneyland. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know down in the comments if you agree with our ranking or if you completely disagree. Let us know down below also which of the clones is your favorite across the world if you've ridden them. But that's going to do it for today's video, so make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss another update here on World of Immersion, and we will catch you in the next one.